Welcome to Divine Alchemy. My name is Shantae. It is such a pleasure to have you here. Today, I want to share what my morning routine looks like as a spiritual person because it's taken me ages to get my routine, and my routine sounds really, really simple. And it's a routine that anyone can do, although I would encourage you to create your own, but you may get some inspiration from mine. But it took me a long time to find the routine that works for me because I had to do a lot of unconditioning about spirituality. And I also was following the latest trends of what everyone else is doing on their spiritual path. And I felt like it wasn't working for me. So I think the one thing that I would encourage you to do is keep going until you find that click, like that moment where you feel like you're really tuned into yourself and you're also connecting to the beloved. And if you can't find that with what you're doing in your routine and like the different elements of your routine, mix it up, change it up. Spirituality is not something where we're meant to feel numb. We're always meant to feel more alive than any other state of being when we are consciously aware of our own spirituality and aware of the beloved. So let's rewind. I grew up in what I would describe as fundamentalist religion that was extremely fanatic. It was rigid. It had the elements of what all people who experience this have, which is this real fear, like this feeling of fear and damnation. And like everything's done out of fear. And you're told to follow rules. And so when you grow up in something like that, it's just normal, right? You don't really know anything else because you started off in life through that. And then, of course, I rebelled against all that and I became completely non-spiritual. I didn't believe in anything and lived a really good life, for good 10, probably 15 years, that whole journey, and found myself and had so many cool experiences in life. No regrets at all. But I eventually wanted to find spirituality again on my own terms because I felt like something was missing in life and I felt that there was more to life than just the rat race. I got bored of it. I just felt like this can't be why we're here. So it took me a long time to uncondition because my original conditioning with anything to do with spirituality was a place of fear and a place like this authoritative male figure with white hair. And it's it's funny to talk about it, but no one really talks about it when you're growing up in those spaces. You're like, yeah, we all, we're all shit scared, aren't we? It's like, yeah, I'm scared. and it's also this feeling of shame. Like even without talking about it, there's this feeling of like, regardless of what religious path you may have grown up with, generally more of the traditional religions you'll feel this sense of shame, like you're just a piece of crap. And that's why you have to pray because, you've got to like undo your own crapness. So it's not a very fun place to be, like, and eventually it wears you down. Like eventually you get to a place where you're like, actually, this doesn't make me feel good. And so I didn't do any kind of meditation for a really long time. And so, continuing on my little Shantae's little journey in life, I then started to dabble into the very broad spectrum of spirituality, like what people often call New Age spirituality. But a lot of that is actually rooted in Buddhism, Hinduism, and psychology. If you look at the roots, most of New Age is not new. It's funny, it's called New Age, but it's not actually really new. It's old traditions and First Nations traditions as well, and it's a blend. But what I started to adopt was the idea of doing mantras. Now, I created my own mantras, or I would take someone's mantras. I didn't really follow like a traditional script, like I think they're called the Vedas in Hinduism. But I tried all these mantras, and I dabbled into like I am full of abundance, and all the all of us who are like desperate to pay our rent in Australia because it's just completely ridiculous. Instead of doing mantras, we just should change the economic system, right? Like, why are we mantraing an economic problem? We need to actually change policy and fix the system. That would fix it all, you know. But I tried all these mantras and there's nothing wrong with them, but I actually felt completely empty. I felt empty. And the mantras were either like positive thinking, like I am good, I am well, I'm enough, I have everything, which was challenging because I didn't always feel that way. I didn't always feel like I had enough. And I was going through challenges at different points in my life. And I was like, you know, I have everything I need. And it's like, yeah, but this situation is really stressing me out. Like the mantra wasn't working. And the other thing that I found with the mantras is, or mantra, you know, if that's a better way to pronounce it. But I mean all of them, right? I don't just mean traditional Hinduist ones from Hinduism. But they weren't connecting me to anything. Like I wasn't connecting to anything beyond myself. And I just felt nothing, you know, and I didn't feel like I was going anywhere. So then I started to burn sage. So I have some sage here with me. So this is dry sage. Smells beautiful, and when you burn it, it's very sweet. And I knew about sage way before it was really popularized in the West, because I've spent a lot of time on the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation in North and South Dakota in the United States. My name is actually Lakota. Shante means heart in the Lakota language. So I've been to many ceremonies where it's called smudging sage, and it's a way, it is traditionally believed to remove the negative energy. So I started that here. I have this beautiful abalone shell, which was given to me for my services in the community with youth, teenagers at the schools at Standing Rock. So I was smudging sage, and then I started to pray to the universe. And the way I would pray to the universe is I would just say, thank you, universe, and I would say general gratitude. And there's nothing wrong with any of this, but I personally felt like I'm not feeling guided at all. Like I felt like the problems that I was facing, which were big problems, like really difficult work situations, difficult financial stresses and pressures, conflicts in relationships that were hard to navigate through, to work through. And I just felt like I was completely on my own. Like I felt like it's like I was smudged the sage, connect to the universe, which was this kind of neutral being, I used to think at that time. And I would say my gratitude, and then I'd go back to my problems. And, you know, to be honest, I don't actually know how things shifted for me, because my spiritual journey has been very, very internal. I haven't shared much of it with people around me, which I'm really glad I didn't, by the way, because I think it's so sacred. It's so sacred. And you don't want to be influenced by anyone else. Like you do want to be influenced. You're obviously watching this because you're looking for influence, and influence can be a great thing, but you don't want to be negatively influenced. You don't want to try something and someone tells you that's wrong, or, you know, what are you doing, or whatever. So I think there's a wisdom in holding things to your heart. So I was dabbling then into these different spaces in the spiritual community here in Australia, in different areas of Australia. And yeah, I'm looking back. You know, to be honest, I think I just intuitively started talking to someone. And it was like a conversation that you have with a friend. And it came so naturally to me. And I keep looking out the window because there's a big water dragon. He looks like a big lizard staring at me right now. I see him all the time. He's like, what are you doing in your living room? I'm filming on YouTube. I just started talking, and I didn't at the time really even know who I was talking to, because the concept of the universe was way too vague for me. It was like, well, what do you mean? Am I praying to the universe, like as in all the planets, all the stars, all of creation? Well, everything has its own consciousness. So am I praying to like billions and billions and billions of individual pieces of consciousness? Or is it just this neutral being that's like loving you, but then there's no relationship, there's no intimacy? And I realized when I started to talk to, well, not talking to myself, but talking to this entity, that I hadn't really understood what it was yet, that spirituality is actually deeply intimate, and it's always meant to be deeply intimate and personal. That's why we were never meant to have like gurus or priests telling us what to do. I know historically we had people to guide us, and spiritual wisdom is a beautiful thing to guide people on. And certainly many people and medicine men and women, and I guess the humble spiritual leaders had a big role to play, and a lot of them did good. There are people who did it for good reasons. But even whether they were there or not, you were always meant to have spirituality as your own intimate relationship with the beloved who has created you. So I started then just talking, and it was easy to do that because at the time I was living out in the rainforest in beautiful tropical Queensland, and I was on this property that was literally at the end of a 2-kilometer gravel road, which would flood all the time. And it was rainy season when I was living there, which basically means it rains all the time. And the road would literally wash away, and it was like washing it completely away in certain parts, or massive potholes, which my city VW Golf did not handle very well. But the beautiful thing about this property is that it was like at the edge, and then behind it was this massive, lush rainforest and literally a canopy. And I could see all these beautiful, beautiful native Australian birds, including endangered species. A little couple, these green parrots, came outside my bedroom briefly once to visit me. And being that remote, it made it really easy to talk to yourself. Because no one cares, like no one's watching. And so I started to talk to the beloved, like I would have these conversations with this being that I didn't know who this being was. And what I found was that the more that I started to have these conversations and talk back and forth, the more that I built an intimate, personal relationship with the beloved who has created me. And it was my relationship with the one who created me, with no one in between, nothing I had to pay for, no monthly membership, no healer that I needed. It was just straight up and down, immediate, instant. Anytime I needed help, I would just ask. And so I started to get into this habit of just talking with my own words. And the more that I built and invested in the relationship, just like you invest in a loving, intimate partner relationship, or you invest in a friendship or a business relationship, your spiritual relationship needs just as much, if not more, attention, care, dedication, and time to strengthen the bond between you and the beloved. And what I found was, not only did I build trust, like people say, trust the universe, I actually built trust with the divine beloved. But I also found that I started to hear answers. Like I actually started to hear messages come down to me, and I would see signs in my life. And I don't mean the signs that people talk about, like 888, 444, and all this stuff. Nothing wrong with that. But I saw signs that were very specific to me and specific to the questions that I was asking and where I was on my journey, and helping me to navigate life. Like I actually felt like I had guidance showing me where, my leg's falling asleep, showing me how to navigate through life. Like what did I need to do? And then I would listen to it and I would take action, and I'd be like, oh, cool, that actually helped, or that helped me solve that. And now I'm on the next step in this journey or going through this particular thing that I'm navigating. And I realized that spirituality was so intertwined in my day-to-day life. There was no separation. It wasn't like, you meditate and then you just, done, like stop and then go through life. There was a blur. Like actually there was not even a blur. It was completely integrated. My spiritual life, my spiritual journey and consciousness, and growing my connection to the beloved with work, relationships, friendships, renting properties, all this, just daily life. It was completely blended. And that's when life got really cool, because I no longer had to navigate things on my own. And I didn't even need to ask friends for advice. I just asked, and I would hear answers through kind of like a whisper, but not a direct voice. Like an intuitive knowing, or words being shared in my consciousness, but they weren't my own thoughts, which was super cool. Or things would happen in my life, like a door would open wide open that I didn't think would open, or a door would slam shut and it was like, do not go there, Shantae, like that is not for you. It's like, okay, thank you for your guidance. And so my morning routine now then evolved into something super simple but deeply intimate, and it's the foundation for my whole day. And it's at a point now, I think I spend a bit too much time in the morning. Like I just love my slow mornings now, that it's really hard to rush it, because it just sets the foundation for my whole day. Like I can't get up and rush. If I get up early in the morning and I want to hike, and by early I mean I wake up at 4 a.m., I will still make sure I have at least 15 minutes for my morning spiritual routine. I normally spend about 30, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. It just depends on how much information I'm downloading and how much guidance I'm getting or what I'm working through. But I always need at least 15 minutes. And that's me. And I'm not telling you how long you need. You could just have one breath. I'm good. But I love to have that intimate moment in the morning with the beloved. So the way I do my morning routine is I have my abalone shell, and I have my sage, and I have a candle. You can see I've got lots of candles here. And so I just light a candle and I burn sage, and I'll usually play some kind of playlist. It will depend on my mood. Sometimes I play like electronic house music because I want really upbeat music. Sometimes I'll play indie folk music. Sometimes I play more traditional kind of yoga music or instrumental piano. So I just go with my mood. I don't have one playlist. I really just follow how I'm feeling and what do I need. Do I need something really, sentimental and reflective, or do I need something really bouncy and uplifting? So I'll play music, and then I'll sit and I'll connect in. I'll just sit, close my eyes. I'll have tea with me, and I'll just connect in and talk to the beloved. I talk to the beloved, and it's like a two-way conversation. I'll talk about how I'm feeling. I'll talk about what my worries are. I'll say thanks for things. I'll ask for guidance. I'll give my gratitude, but it's not structured. Like it's not like, okay, 3 things you're grateful for. And often I'll share more gratitude during the day. Like I'll be like, oh, thank you so much for this. Oh, thank you for that. Oh, thank you for my home. Thank you for this. I find that more authentic than doing okay, I have to say my 3 things. And that's what worked for me. I'm not saying you have to do it another way. But I have my back and forth connection with the beloved, and it's me connecting to the divine creator that created me and literally everything in this world and everything in the spiritual world. So we just have a chat, have a yarn. And then I'll read beautiful prayers from Baha'u'llah's writings, because I love Baha'u'llah's writings. But I realized I always needed to have my own words. And I didn't know I could even talk to the beloved. I didn't know I could have a spiritual, intimate, personal relationship with the beloved. And I didn't know I could have my own words spoken to them. Because when I was growing up, I was told you could only read certain words. And that was it. You never, ever, ever were allowed. Like you'd never even entertain the idea of saying, hey, can you help? And I know certain words are really powerful. Like I know words have power, letters have power. There's even numerology with languages. So I don't question that, but in my journey, I needed to have a personal relationship with the one who's created me, because it needed to be real to me, and it needed to come from my heart, not my mind. And that's the thing with spirituality, is that it has to come from the heart, not the mind. And a lot of people confuse this in modern spirituality, where they talk about concepts that are actually psychology, not spirituality. And psychology, like a lot of the early founders, they were atheists. They didn't believe in a soul. So it's quite ironic when you actually look at things and go, well, where did you get that from? But I think the fundamental thing for everyone to know is that spirituality is yours, and it's intimate, it's personal, it's to the individual, and it's the most powerful when you have a relationship with the divine that has created you, and you see it as a relationship, and it's a constant relationship that you nurture every single day. So every morning, that's what I do. And I often will receive like ideas and inspiration, and I'll journal that. I'm still a big journaler, and I write down in my journal, and then I begin my day. Whatever you end up doing on your spiritual path, as long as you make it yours and authentic and intimate, and it's a personal relationship with the divine beloved, then everything else will fall into place. Everything else will. Whereas if you just mimic what everyone else tells you and you follow the rules, you'll find that you just don't feel much. You don't feel like there's anything personal to you, just kind of flowing through life. And spirituality was always meant to be an intimate, loving relationship between you and the beloved. It was always meant to be personal. And I think that's what's so beautiful now in my life, is that I have a deep relationship with the divine beloved who created me. And it's a relationship that's constantly growing. And we have our moments, like any relationship, I've had my moments where I've doubted many times and gone, I thought you were helping me. And what I realized in those moments is that I was being guided and I was being helped. It's just the door didn't open that I thought was going to open, or a door shut that actually I then found out weeks or months later, oh, that was a good thing. So much of the relationship with the beloved is actually about trusting. And I think to really strengthen the relationship, to have trust and to rely on the beloved, it takes nurturing and growth. And that's why your morning routine, your daily spiritual routine is so, 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 so important. And I know some people will do this more in the evening, or they prefer after lunch. That's fine. But I personally find that when you start your day with a connection with the beloved, and your spiritual path is the foundation for your life, it's like this is the center, everything else flows so much more. And it's easier for you to hear the whispers, to feel the guidance coming through, because you've plugged in, and you're aware that you've plugged in, as opposed to waking up to an alarm and checking social media, checking messages, running off to the gym, and just doing everything that we do without actually connecting to our own soul. It's like we should connect to our soul and spirit before we connect to anything else. That's the most important relationship of your life. So I hope you enjoyed this, my friend. I would love to know what you do in your morning routine. So please share that in the comments, and what works for you. What do you love to do the most in the morning? What inspires you, or anytime? What's your routine that you do on a daily basis at whatever time of the day? And share that, because we're all looking for inspiration, and we're all here to support each other on our spiritual journey. So thank you, my friend. Thank you for being here.